Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be building upon the inbound voice agent system we built in the most recent video. Let me give you a quick demo of how it works.
Hi, thanks for calling Solar London. My name's Rahul. How can I help you today?
Hi, I just wanted to inquire about your services.
Sure. What would you like to know about our services? Solar panels, installation, or something else?
Yes, I'm looking for solar panel installation for my home. I'm just based just outside of London in Reading, so I was just looking for solar for my home, basically.
Thanks for letting me know. Unfortunately, we currently only provide solar installation services within London. I'll note your details in case we expand to Reading in the future. Have a great day.
Okay, so that call is just finished now. So if I go ahead and refresh the dashboard, we can see 13 calls have been made, the total minutes used has increased, and the total number of qualified leads has also increased by 1, which has in turn updated the pie chart. We've also got it logged in the bar chart here, and then our minutes usage chart has also changed as well. Okay, so today we're going to be diving into all of the details about the post-call analysis process and the Airtable dashboard we built out here. If you're new to the channel, my name is Rahul, and I run a 6-figure AI automation agency based here in London, where we specialize in building AI agents to help businesses convert more leads while saving money and countless hours of time. If you're a business owner looking to leverage these exact same systems to help you drive more sales while saving time and money, head over to the second link in the description below and book in a call with myself. Now let's kick things off by breaking down the inbound voice agent system. So I went through this diagram in my previous video where I actually showed you the entire end-to-end system. But in this video, we'll be focusing more on the data tracking aspect within Airtable and how we have connected that up to the agent. So just as a brief overview, we're logging various bits of data within the Airtable system. So that involves the contact ID, which is the ID of the contact within the CRM. We've also got the call number. So that is the exact number of the call the contact has made, whether that's the first, second, third, fourth, etc. And then we've also got the total number of minutes which that call has consumed. We've also got the call status, which could be whether the lead was booked, whether the call was transferred, whether the lead was not interested, not qualified, or whether they answered and didn't fit into any of those 4 other categories. And then we've also got the day of the week the call actually took place and the time of the day, whether that's morning, afternoon, or evening. Okay, let me start by jumping into the Retell AI outbound webhook. So the way this works is we've taken the webhook URL from the GoHighLevel automation. So within GoHighLevel, we've built out an automation. We've configured it with an inbound webhook as the trigger, and that is the URL we've got here. And then we're also sending over various bits of custom data. So you can see for post-call analysis here, we have the detailed call summary, the interest level, qualified level, whether they booked, their transfer status, their email, and name. So let's go into each of these ones in a bit more detail. So we'll start off with the detailed call summary, which is just a detailed summary of all of the key details discussed during the call. And then the interest level just outputs not interested or unknown based on whether the lead explicitly says they're not interested, or if they did not say they're not interested, then it would just default to unknown. And then the qualified level, so that would be unqualified, qualified, or unknown. So if the agent can explicitly determine that the lead was unqualified, it will be set to unqualified. If they are qualified, so that means they are located within London and they are looking for solar installation for their home, that means they're qualified. And then if the agent is unsure, it will just set to unknown. And then we also have booked. So whether the lead has booked, it will output booked. If the lead does not book, it will set it to unknown. And then we have the transfer status. So if the call was transferred to a human, that will be set to yes. If the call was not transferred to a human, it would be set to no. And then we've also got the email, which we are collecting from the customer. If we did not collect the email, then it would just default to unknown. And then we've also got the name, which is configured in the same way. So we collect the name of the customer. Otherwise, we output unknown if we did not get that information. So it's a super simple setup within Retell AI, and most of the configuration is done within GoHighLevel and also Airtable. So let's next go into the GoHighLevel automation. So within the GoHighLevel automation here, we've got the trigger, which is the inbound webhook. So whenever this inbound webhook is triggered, we are collecting all of the details from Retell AI. And then next we go through a condition step. So if the call was analyzed and there was no disconnection reason, which means the call actually took place, we come down here. We start off by finding the actual contact. So we use the phone number from the call to extract whether the contact exists in GoHighLevel or not. If the contact already exists, then we come down this branch. Whereas if the contact does not exist, we need to create the contact within the system. And then we create the contact using the number from the phone call. And we also configure the conversation history, which is passed over from the Retell AI agent. And then we follow the exact same path. So we increment the call counter by adding 1 to it. And then we log the external call because the call actually took place outside of GoHighLevel. We set the direction as inbound. We leave the date empty because it defaults to the current date. We set the to number, the from number, and we set the call status as answered. And we also attach the recording URL because once we've done this, we can actually play the recording from directly within the conversation thread in HighLevel. And then after this, we trigger an internal notification, which basically allows the team to see that the call has taken place. They get information of the actual call itself. So they get the contact name, the email, the phone number, and also a summary of the call. And then from there, we come down to conditional steps. So condition number 1, we'll set the email if the agent obtained that during the call. If the agent did not obtain that, it will just skip that step and not update the email. And then we do the same process for the name. So if we've got the name from the agent, then it will update the name within HighLevel. But if we didn't get the name, it will come down the other branch and it will just go straight to the final condition. And then for the final condition, we're checking the status of the call. So that could be whether the status is not interested, the lead was unqualified, the meeting was booked, the call was transferred to a human, or it was none of those 4 categories. Now, if the lead was not interested, it means that the interest level was equal to not interested. If the lead was unqualified, it means the qualified level was equal to unqualified. So these are variables which are passed over from the post-call analysis. The same goes for booked, for transfer status, and then we also have a branch when none of those 4 conditions are met. And then if the lead was categorized as not interested, it would come down here. We create an opportunity in the inbound voice agent pipeline where the stage is set as not interested. The contact name is also set. And then we also set the status as lost because the lead is not interested, so we just disregard them. And then we also trigger a webhook going to the Airtable inbound voice agent dashboard, which passes over the contact ID, the call number, so that is a count of which call it was, the call status, which is set to not interested, the booking status, which is of course set to no, and then the number of seconds, which was actually used by the agent. And then for unqualified, we come through here. The lead is added to the inbound voice agent pipeline, set as not qualified. We configure the name as well. And then we set them as abandoned because they're unqualified, so we can just abandon the lead. And then we also have the webhook, which passes over the contact ID, call number, call status, booking status, and again, the seconds used. Then if the meeting was booked, it would come through here, create the opportunity in the inbound voice agent pipeline, add the lead to the booked pipeline stage, configure the contact name, and then set the status as open because we've only just booked them, so they haven't converted, so we can't really set them as 1. And then we also trigger the webhook and again, pass over all of that exact same information, but the booking status is set to yes and the call status is set to booked. Then if the call was transferred, we log that within the pipeline, so we add them to the transferred stage, and again, they're set to open, and the webhook is also configured as well to pass over all of that information, so the call status is logged as transferred, the booking status is set to no. Then if none of these 4 conditions are met, we trigger a webhook, which basically passes over all of that data, but the call status is set to answered, and the booking status is set to no. And then all of that information is passed over to the Airtable system. So within Airtable, let's start by actually discussing the configuration of the tables. So we have 2 tables here. We have the contacts table and the calls table. So the contacts table is super simple. We've just got the contact ID, which corresponds to the ID within GoHighLevel. We've got the call count, which is just a count of the number of calls made by that customer. And then we've also got a linked record, which links to the calls table, and it has each of the calls that were made by that customer. And then we've also got the booking status, whether that's yes or no, as to whether or not they booked. And that's pretty much it for the contacts table. Then within the calls table, we've got an ID for every single call. We've got a linked record going over to the contacts table. We've also got the call number. So that would be the number of the actual call for the contact, whether it's their first, second, third, fourth call, etc. And then we've also got the call status. So that can either be answered, not qualified, not interested, transferred, or booked. And it defaults to answered. And then we've also got the number of seconds used, which are passed over from HighLevel, as you just saw. And then we've got a formula field to calculate the number of minutes, which is just the seconds used divided by 60. And then we've got the created date and time, and then the day of the week, which will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. And then the time of day, which is categorized as morning, afternoon, or evening. Now, the main aspect, which is a little bit complicated, is the automation running in the background. So if we dive in here, we've got an Airtable automation, which is triggered via a webhook. So that webhook is triggered from GoHighLevel and basically passes all of that data over. So the first step here is to find a record in the contacts table to see if the contact already exists in the system. If the contact already exists in the Airtable system, we then come through here and we update the record rather than create a new record. So we update the existing contact within the system, which just means we update the booking status, And then we also create a record in the calls table, which links to that specific contact. So that record will have the call number, the call status, it will link to the contact, and then also have the seconds used. And then after that, we actually run a script which sums up all of the minutes used by the inbound voice agent in the past 30 days. So if the number of minutes exceeds a certain number, the agency is notified. So let me walk into this code in a little more detail. So if we go ahead and edit the code, you can see we've configured the table name, the created field, which just has the created date and time, the minutes field, which logs the number of minutes used, the number of days back, which is 30, the business name is also configured, and the webhook URL. So the reason we have this script is because if you're an agency owner and you're selling this solution to a client and you've capped the client at a certain number of minutes, you want to be notified when that certain number of minutes is close to being exceeded. So we have this to basically send us an email notification when the user is close to that number of minutes, and then we can take the appropriate action. So you can see here, we get the notification when the total number of minutes has gone over 900. So you can see from earlier, this is the email we received. So this email basically tells us the client is approaching 1,000 minutes of usage. It gives us the number of minutes they're currently on, and it also tells us exactly which business this applies to, so which specific client is close to exceeding their minutes. Now this script is exactly the same as it is down here, but the only difference between these two branches is the fact that this branch updates the contact within the Airtable system, whereas this one creates a new record because the contact does not exist within the system. So you can see we're creating a record for the contact, which has their booking status and also their contact ID. And then you can see we are creating a record in the calls table, which is exactly the same as it was here. And we're allocating the call number, call status, we're linking to the contacts table, and we're also allocating the seconds used. Now let's dive into the actual interface configuration. So within Airtable, we have this unique ability to be able to transform data into really clear interfaces, which are user-friendly and just portray information in a really, really clean way. So it's really, really similar to having a lot of data in a Google Sheet, but instead you can transform that Google Sheet into a really easy to use interface where you can see all of the data you need at a glance. Now, in the previous video, I ran through exactly how to build this interface, and it was more or less the same apart from the addition of the total minutes used and also a chart which plots out the minutes used over the past 30 days. But let me just go ahead and actually walk through everything one by one. So we'll start off with the total number of inbound calls, which basically is a count of the calls table. So it counts all of the rows from the calls table. So this will be the total number of inbound calls. It won't be over the past 30 days or year. It can be if we added a specific filter, but in this case, it's just the total number of inbound calls logged within the system. And then we also have the total minutes used, which is a sum of all of the minutes used over the calls within the past 30 days. Now, the reason it's set to within the past 30 days is because we have this filter here. So you can see when the created date is after 1 month ago. So from the past 1 month to now. Now, if we wanted all of the minutes and not just within the past month, then we would just delete this filter and it would give us that. And then we also have the total bookings made, which is just filtered by the call status being booked. The total transfers, which is also filtered by the call status being equal to transferred. The total not qualified leads, which again is being filtered by the call status being equal to not qualified. And the same for not interested leads as well. And then we plot all of that information within a pie chart, which just gives us a really nice visual breakdown of everything. So we can see all of the calls that were answered, all of the calls that were not qualified, not interested, and booked. And then we would also see transferred if there are any calls which were transferred. And then we've also got this bar chart, which plots the exact same information as shown within this pie chart. So it could be changed if you wanted to plot something else, but this is just showing you what's possible. And then down at the bottom here, we've got the total minutes used over the past 30 days shown in a line graph. So we've got the number of minutes used each day and a really clear breakdown of everything so you can see it visually. Now, if you want high quality voice and text AI agents implemented for your business, visit the second link in the description below to book in a call with myself. And also don't forget to subscribe, comment, hit the like button if you like these videos. And let me know if there's anything specific you guys want to see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.